All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get going here. We've got to run off to caucuses and whatnot in just a few minutes. So, how are we on sound? Everybody good? Okay, great. I'm Senate Republican Leader Trey Stewart, joined with my House Republican leader and Senate Republican leadership as well, and our colleagues on either side of the building here. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a press conference, and we just want to make sure that we're maintaining that touch point with you all, particularly as we're in session and with so many things flying around, just to provide an opportunity to engage with the public a little bit more. We care a lot about transparency. That's something we've been vocal about for a long time here, particularly in the minority party. We think that's an important thing that we can provide the public. So wanted to make sure that you all had that opportunity to ask us questions here at some point this week. I'll just give a little bit of an update on the Senate Republican side in particular, and then I'll hand it over, and then we'll just do questions for whatever you folks have for questions for the week. The big thing that happened this week on the Senate side of the ledger, our caucus sent a letter inquiring about the plan that University of Southern Maine had for bringing in an anti-Semitic speaker to their campus. You probably saw that letter. Thankfully, we think that the administration there did the right thing in canceling that event. However, it is just a reminder that Jewish hate is on the rise, both across the country, across the world, and is apparently alive and well here in the state of Maine as well. And so I think that's a really important contrast between Republicans and Democrats, and it's something that's unfortunate, but is the reality that we face here in the state of Maine, that anti-Semitic hate is alive here in the state of Maine and should be acknowledged. And so I'm thankful for the choices that were made at the university to dispatch with that event and to make them do something else there. However, we're not going to stop remaining vigilant on that issue, and I think it is a stark reminder that there are folks who legitimately have ill wishes for folks in the Jewish community that do not want the Jewish community to feel like they have a place in Maine. And so I think that's a travesty. I think that's something that is just completely reprehensible, and something that, again, is a stark contrast between Republicans and Democrats. You see anti-Semitic bills, anti-Semitic resolutions coming up here in this building, sponsored by Democrats, and Republicans are opposed to them. So if you're a member of the Jewish community, I mean, I think do your homework on that. I'm not going to tell you how to vote based on your religious beliefs, but make sure you know which side is protecting your rights to practice that religion, defending your religious liberties. And it's not specific to one faith or another, but that one is particularly under attack here in the state of Maine. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my House Republican counterpart, and then again, we'll be back at the end for questions.
Okay. Thank you all for being here for this week's Legislative Republican Press Availability, we're calling it this week. Not necessarily a press conference, but as Trey said, we want to have transparency, and we want to be here to speak to you folks and be here to answer your questions. Just wanted to say really briefly that the big news this week nationally in the state of Maine is once again fraud. I thought it was interesting. I was doing a video for social media last week, and I called for a fraud revolution from Mainers. And then in the State of the Union speech, President Trump declared a war on fraud. So I thought that was perfect timing for that. Of course, both the fraud revolution and the fraud war will be peaceful. I know I got a lot of media questions and inquiries about what the war meant and what that meant for Maine. And I can assure you it's a peaceful revolution, a peaceful war. But the one thing that is important is that people are held accountable. And so it's a great relief to us that President Trump has tasked Vice President J.D. Vance with leading that mission, and that Maine is one of the top priorities with all the fraud that we've had. And I just want to remind folks that, I've spoken about this quite a bit for over a year. These Republicans here, we have been asking questions. We have been calling this out. This letter was dated January 29th of a year ago. Over a year and a month has passed. These questions remain unanswered. These are very basic questions of the government that they should be able to answer with transparency and get to the bottom of this. I think that That right there is why the federal government has to come and fix this mess, because the state of Maine has not done its job. It has not handled the money correctly. It has not administered its programs correctly. Fraud has run rampant. We've already seen over 45 million in fraudulent billing in the autism services. What happened with Gateway Services and some other ones that have been found, but there's many more. We remain committed to getting to the bottom of this fraud, and we still think it's just the tip of the iceberg, and that's why the federal government is coming, and we welcome it. Now we'll take any questions you guys have.
Just a clarifying question on this letter you had. Which one is, there's been a lot of letters, so which one exactly is that one?
So this one asked for, I can just tell you the categories that I was asking about: Medicaid expenditure and analysis, program integrity audits, SNAP and TANF spending analysis for non-citizens, general assistance audits and reports, housing assistance audits, racial impact analysis for the proposed budget, and general purpose aid. And you know, a big one on there would be those program integrity audits, because that would show us the ones that DHHS has determined are in violation. And when we saw some of those that had leaked out, they were very concerning and had shown fraudulent billing going back multiple years. And you know, one of those examples was Gateway Services, which had been fraudulently billing for, I think it went all the way back to 2019, and the state continued to pay them. Even though there was money that they owed in fraudulent billing, the state continued to pay them until it became national news a little over a month ago. They finally decided to stop paying them. But up until that point, they were allowing it to happen and continued to pay them.
If there is a war on fraud, as the president declared in the State of the Union address mentioning Maine, you know, have any legislative Republicans heard from the administration? I'm sure they want to work with you. What do you expect to happen now?
Yeah, we have a contact in the White House, a liaison that is coordinating and letting us know the progress there.
Is there progress so far?
Well, I mean, he just spoke about it the other day, so it'll be coming soon. Go ahead.
You mentioned some anti-Semitic bills. Do you have any numbers for those?
We can get you those. There were some from last year that were carried over. There were others that were put forward as both in the last legislature as well as the current one that we're in. So we'll send those to you as well. Yeah. Yep.
I don't remember the exact quote. I believe it came from DHHS or possibly the AG, but I know some of the fraud was characterized as just improper payments or clerical issues. Have you seen any documentation that sort of reconciles that?
I mean, I think the question there, what they're alluding to is intent. They didn't intend to steal tens of millions of dollars from the state of Maine. It just sort of happened. Well, okay, then perhaps we should stop doing business with these fine people. I mean, there still needs to be a level of accountability that exists there. Whether the intent was there or not, it's still the taxpayers' money, and accountability still matters in all these programs. And so, as you talk about integrity within the programs, all of these things can be tested. And the reality is that there are benchmarks that we can compare, you know, Maine to with regard to other states. We can see how we're stacking up with regard to other states. States that do things really well, usually as a percentage, every state has fraud, by the way. It's a question of how much do you let persist within your state until you do something about it. And so the states that do it well, that do have good metrics around integrity and the sort of robustness of their programs, usually are in the single digits. So less than 10% fraud. Still a lot, but I think Maine is when you really start peeling back the layers of this onion, and I'm not, you know, I think tens of millions is light. I think it's probably in the hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud when you extrapolate out what the percentage is as a dollar amount. And I think our percentage is probably double or triple what the national average is, or should be compared to the states that do it well and have low amounts of fraud. I think we have just blown right by those metrics. And again, like we should have we should have a state government that cares about this. We should have people in the department that care about this. We should have people in the administration that care about this. We should have people at the Attorney General's office and the Auditor's office that care about this. The fact that it's up to independent media to go out and gather this information and this data by FOIA requests and then come up with their own algorithms to scrub these requests and then take and send camera crews out to places to see if they even exist, like, that's a travesty. I mean, can we all just agree on that point, that is illegitimate in terms of how they are allowed to operate in the state of Maine? It shouldn't be that way. We spend money. We spend millions of dollars every year on offices and state employees within state government, specifically to hold these folks accountable, to make sure that the money that we spend here, when we pull a lever in state government, we're actually doing the thing that we think that we're doing. And instead, we're not. I don't know what these people do when they sit around, I guess, all day and just, you know, turn a blind eye to the fraud that does exist. But it shouldn't take independent media going out there to uncover this. It should just be done. We're spending the money to do it. I don't know why it's not being done, but I think it's all about accountability at the end of the day. It's about leadership. It's about what your priorities are, what your values are in an administration, in an organization, in an agency. And right now, the values are all mixed up, I think.
I'd like to answer
Go
that
ahead.
question too. I was looking around to see if Representative Perkins was here because he had a great answer for that question in the GOC committee. You should go look up the video where he dissected that question. But the excuse that these are just clerical errors should be soundly rejected. These are systemic problems. These are not just a few clerical errors. That's a sad excuse, really.
I just have one more. The Democrats are having a press conference today to talk about the progress in their affordability legislation. They proposed a package of bills. You know, are these bills that you guys are planning to support? I know affordability is kind of like a dining room table conversation for so many people. What's the Republican caucus doing to make Maine more affordable?
Yeah, that exactly. We all laughed when we saw the Democrats talking about affordability. You know, like I said before, you just can't come out waving around affordability when you're the ones that created the problem. What they've done to our energy rates, what they've done to inflation, what they've done to the tax rates in the state of Maine, they have squeezed people pretty much to the breaking point. You know, they are the robbers, and now they're trying to act like the cops coming in to save the day. It's a joke what they're doing.
Yeah, so he chose cops. I'll say arsonists and firefighters at the same time, right? They're burning the state down, and then they want to wheel in because it's an election year and say, "Oh, we're the firefighters. We're gonna put this fire out," which is a lie. It's just a lie. It's a campaign lie. You know, anything that has made it more expensive to live here in the state of Maine for the last 8 years has been done and is squarely on the backs of legislative Democrats and this governor, who's now seeking higher office. Meanwhile, Republicans have put forward time after time after time after time bills that have been killed purely on a partisan basis that make it more affordable to live here in the state of Maine. I mean, if anybody actually believes that out there, just come on down to the State House and we'll take you to any of the committees that are meeting around here dealing with bills that make it more expensive, not less expensive, to live here, whether that's in health insurance, whether that's in energy, whether that's in environmental regulations, whether that's in business regulations, whether that's in taxes, you name it. Every committee has a bad idea brewing right now that's sponsored by a Democrat. Every single one of them. So this notion that they're going to have a press conference and talk about affordability because they're up for re-election, I'm sorry, but that's not legitimate. It's just a lie, and the people ought to know that. So this is the People's House. I invite anybody to come on down here and see what's going on. I think we're going to leave it there for this week, unless anybody. Okay, let's just wrap there. We got to get off the caucus. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week.